All right, so in today's video, I want to go back in time to when I first started my agency, back when I was making like $0 from this online business. And I want to break down my journey of how I went about basically getting to my first 10K month, right? And the things I did and the way I used to think to get to that point. So it all started when I was on YouTube, right? And it wasn't like I had just no clue what an online business is. I had a dropshipping store before that didn't really work out. I had a clothing brand, didn't really work out either. I had a sort of a mini trading stage where I would try to trade Forex, didn't really work out either. So I was just kind of confused and lost, like, how can I make money online? How can I start an online business? It's just a topic that always sort of interested me. So one day I'm on my YouTube, right? And then on the homepage, I see a video by someone, you probably know who it is, on the best business model to start. And I got intrigued, right? I was like, okay, let me watch this guy. And I watched it and it just made sense. Like the business model itself just made sense. You learn a skill, you then sell that skill as a service to a client, and you help that client make more money. And then at the same time, you're also going to get paid. So it just made sense. Like the business model was like, okay, this is scalable. This is something I can definitely do. So I told myself like, yep, I'm putting my all into this, right? I'm not quitting, right? This is not going to be a short-term thing. I'm going to put my all into this and make it work. So the first like 2 weeks I'd spent on building up my website, like my logo, my brand name, my website, all that stuff that didn't really matter. And right now, if you are just starting out, I would say, skip the fluff, right? Like building websites, choosing logos, doing your brand name. It's all things that don't really matter at the start. The only thing that matters at the start is being good at what you do and getting clients, right? Bringing revenue for the business. These are the only two things that matter at the start. And then, obviously once you get your first client, your second client, your third client, then you can even have some money to hire a designer for your website to make it even better. But anyways, 2 weeks I spent on just like perfecting my logo, my website, my brand name, buying all the website domains and stuff, creating an Instagram page, Facebook page, creating my Facebook business manager because the service I provided was Facebook ads for e-com brands. And after like 2 weeks of doing that, I realized, okay, I'm just holding off the inevitable, right? And what I'm talking about is outreach, right? I'm just scared of doing outreach. It's not comfortable. I never done it. Like I never approached a person and tried to sell my services before. So it was obviously uncomfortable for me. Like the idea of doing that was just like, I didn't know if I wanted to do it, but I knew I had to. So, if not me realizing that I'm just putting off the inevitable, I'll probably spend even more weeks just doing stuff that doesn't really matter. So when I started outreach, I started with cold DMs on Instagram because it just was the easiest way to start. And what I would do is I would find e-com brands and I would do all my leads like scraping manually, like I had no software, no VA, nothing. And I would find leads on Instagram, I would follow, and then the follow drop down method where if you follow someone, it gives you more suggestions. So that's how I would like start building lists, finding e-com brands and stuff. And then I would go into the following and see if I can find the founder, right, of that e-commerce brand. And if I found someone, I would message the founder directly. If not, then I would message the brand itself on Instagram. And the way I would message them was like, hey, I just got a quick question about your product, right? Just to start the conversation, to engage the conversation. It wasn't like I found that strategy on YouTube or anything. It just kind of made the most sense to me on how to get someone to reply to you. So I got responses, right? But none of them really went into bookings. Like I tried to transition the conversation into like a sales conversation where I would try to book the appointment. But then when the e-com brands kind of realized I was doing that, they would just ignore me or ghost me. But then like after 2 weeks of sending like 50 DMs a day, sometimes less, sometimes more, but on average it would be like 50 DMs. I got my first meeting with like an app, right, on the Apple Store. And I hopped on a meeting and we just got talking. I did not know sales processes. Like, I had no sales script, nothing like that. I was just kind of having a conversation. And then obviously, like, with this whole thing being new to me, I basically got off the call. I sent a proposal that I made on Canva, right? It was just a quick Canva. I didn't even know how to make proposals. And I sent it over, and obviously I didn't close the client, right? Because I think at that stage, the way I portrayed myself was I'm a beginner, right? And I don't know what I'm doing, right? The proposal didn't really look professional either. And then I was like, okay, fine. At least I got the first call. And then I started exploring cold emails. So I bought some domains. Well, I found YouTube videos on like how to do the technical setup side of things. I bought some domains. I connected them to Lemlist. And then I was warming them up. I was pretty excited. I was like still manually scraping leads. Like, I would go on people's website, go on LinkedIn, try to find the contact details of a person, write all the manual stuff. And I built up a list of like 100 people. And I put those into my campaign, and I was like, yeah, this is about to print meetings, right? I'm about to get so many meetings. It's going to be crazy. But then I started my campaigns and nothing, right? Like, literally, I don't remember what response rates I had, but it wasn't good. So then I got obsessed with the problem. I was like, why am I not booking meetings through these emails, right? And then I tried changing up the email copy. I tried changing up the offer. I tried building a better list again by myself. And it was only a list of like 100 people. Like, I couldn't do a lot more than that. So I would rebuild the list. I would try different copies. I would try different offers until, a couple months later, like literally a month and a half or 2 months later of like me just literally being in the trenches, trying to do everything I can to make these cold email campaigns work. I booked my first ever meeting. And I remember, going to watch a movie in the cinema, and I got a notification on Calendly that I got my first ever meeting. Obviously, I was fucking happy about it, right? I was like, this is working now. Like, I can see it working. Didn't close the meeting, obviously, because again, I did not really know how to sell properly. Did all the beginner mistakes of selling. But it was experience, right? And then since then, I looked into what worked, right? I looked into what worked, and I was like, okay, how can I make this better? What email copy was responsible for me booking that meeting? How did I book that meeting in terms of like, managing the responses and stuff? And how did I build up the lead list, right? So I took what I thought worked to book that one appointment and tried to make it even better, right? So I tried to iterate on that. And then I iterated, ran my campaigns again. I booked a couple more meetings, not a lot, but just a couple, right? But still, it was progress, and I was happy with that, even though I wasn't closing anything. And then I was like, okay, I want to take cold emails like very serious. Like, I stopped doing cold DMs by then. And I was like, I'm going all in on cold emails. I'm going to just do cold emails and, become the best I can at cold emails. So then I was running my campaigns. They were getting meetings every now and then, not at the volume I was looking at. I was aiming for like 30, 40 meetings a month. And I was probably booking like 5 or 6 meetings a month. Right, but it was still good. It was still something. And then I actually met my first ever sort of mentor, right? And he ran his cold email agency, and I got to working with him. Right, I got to working with him. Obviously, it's not for free, right? I had to save up money to be able to afford working with him, but I saved up, and it was the best decision I ever made, honestly. Like, if I could look back at any financial investments I ever did, that was probably one of the best ones. So I saved up money, and obviously it was risky. Like, I was thinking, what if it doesn't work? What if I lose this money? Then that means like I failed. That's it. So I saved up money, and then I paid, the guy to basically show me cold emails, introduce me to the world of cold emails, and he was crazy. Like, he would send like so many emails on a monthly basis. It was like crazy to me that you could even do that. So he taught me, everything I knew back then about cold emails for me to build up my own system. And then after that, obviously changing up my infrastructures, changing up, the copies, how I gathered lead lists. I learned how to do all of that right through him. And then I started running my campaigns, and instantly we were basically just booking appointments left, right, and center, right? Left, right, and center. We were booking like 40, 50 appointments every single month in the e-commerce space, which was like a very competitive space. And I was like, damn, I made it, right? This is it. I made it. But obviously then the next sort of problem I came by is sales, right? So now I knew how to get appointments in, right? And I knew the things I was doing wrong, which was like manual lead list building, the email copies, the way I written them were just not really good. The software tech stacks I was using was not really scalable, right? So after changing everything and finally basically booking appointments, the next thing I had to do was learn sales. When it came to learning sales, the only thing I did was read books, right? As I know it sounds cliche, but I bought some books and I basically started reading, right? One book a week, plainly on sales, right? Nothing else, no mindset, nothing else, just sales. So I was reading sales whilst also taking, appointments, practicing. I also remember I downloaded like a free sales script of YouTube. So I was using that on my sales call as well. And my first, I'd say 10 calls, 12 calls went horrible. Right? I just did not know what I was doing. But then over time, like you got to realize with sales, it's like, it's a numbers game. Like, yes, you can have knowledge, books, courses, all that stuff to help you. But at the end of the day, the only way you're going to get better is by actually taking sales calls and closing deals. Because once you understand, like once you close your first deal, you then understand what you did, if you recorded the call, what you did to close that deal. And then you basically repeat that and improve on that, right? So find a working proof of concept of something working and then improve on it or scale it. But yeah, learning sales, following the sales script, I iterated it a lot of times, right? Throughout the 12 calls, every call would be different. No call would be the same. And then I remember closing my first ever deal, right? When I closed my first ever deal, I was like crazy to me. Like the feeling was unmatched. Like I was pitching my services. I was like sweating. I was like shaking. I was nervous, obviously, because this is the first time I'm like, getting paid online. But then I closed that deal and I felt like ecstatic, like it was the best day of my life. And then obviously once that calmed down, I had to figure out fulfillment. So I hired a media buyer to not do everything for me. I hired a media buyer to work with him, right? So I hired a media buyer to work with him rather than outsource everything to them. And I just don't care about the client. I wanted to make the client's experience as good as possible when working with me. Right, that was my goal with fulfillment. So me and the media buyer, we would meet up almost every single day and we would talk about Facebook ads, Google ads. I would learn a lot from him as well. I would learn a lot from the way we would set up campaigns together, right, for clients. I would learn a lot by basically hearing him talk to me about Facebook ads, Google ads, and so on. But going back to like sales calls, one thing I want to tell you guys is like, if you are taking your first sales calls, then it's going to be hard until you close that first deal. Like it's going to be uncomfortable until you close that first deal. After you close that first deal, the momentum starts to kick in, right? And then you close your next deal. Like I literally remember after that first deal I closed, next week I closed another deal, right? And then a week and a half later I closed another deal. Right, so it kind of started like snowballing. And the reason why that happens is because I found a working sales process, or like the way I would conduct my sales calls. I found a proof of concept and I stuck with that proof of concept and I tried to improve on that proof of concept, right, on every sales call until, I could literally close the client if they were a good fit for me or I was a good fit for them as well. But yeah, so that was kind of the mindset with like the sales stuff. Obviously, the appointments were rolling in. I was closing deals left, right, and center. The next thing was like fulfillment. Because I knew that if I don't deliver results for my clients, right? And I actually had guarantees in place as well back then, right? Even before like the Alex Hormozi 100 million offers, I still placed guarantees on return on ad spend, right? Because I wanted to prove to the client I'm able to do what I say I'm going to do. So I was working a lot on fulfillment, right? I was speaking to clients once a week. I was messaging them on Slack. Like I was literally always on Slack. I would talk to the media buyer, right? Try to figure out different strategies for different clients. I would create ad creatives for the clients. I'd write out all the copies. We'd write them together sometimes. We'd launch campaigns together on the call. And I, over time, started learning more and more about paid ads to the point where I was comfortable enough to manage a client completely by myself, right? And that's what you guys should focus on. If you close your first client, do everything you can to get results for them. Literally do everything you can, right? If it takes you long hours, if it takes you massive amounts of research, if you have to hire someone to help you, just do it, right? Because once you deliver it for that client, that client might give you a case study that you can leverage to close more deals. Client might give you an interview even better than a case study, right? But the most important thing is, again, you get that proof of concept that something you did actually worked. And that's key here. Because once you do something and it actually works and actually provides results, you're then able to take that knowledge and you're able to improve on it and get even better and get even better results. Right? But the most important thing is like you broke that barrier from, just not doing anything, not getting anything to getting results. You crossed the hardest part, right? Whether it's booking your first appointment, whether it's closing your first deal, whether it's getting your first client case study, right? These three things are the hardest things when you first start out. But once you sort of climb over them, or like once you overcome them, once you learn how to do it, it just becomes easier, right? Because now you did something that actually works, and all you have to do is see why it worked. What did you do to make it work? And then once you know what you did to make it work, you then take that process, you scale it up, you iterate to make it even better, and you get even better results from there. So that was kind of my journey from $0 a month for a couple months since starting my agency to making 10K a month, literally within a month and a half. It all kind of exploded on me. Like it wasn't like an overnight thing. Obviously, I wasn't making any money for a couple of months. I was just kind of figuring everything out. And then once it kind of clicked, it was almost like as if I like woke up. It was literally almost as if I just woke up and I was like, okay, that makes sense, right? And different people, right? You might have a different journey. You might, it might snap for you really quick. It might snap for you really slow. It might take you a couple months, couple years. But once it snaps, right? Once you wake up and you understand something I did worked. Now, what did I do to make it work? Your world just changes, right? Your world just changes because you found the formula to get a certain outcome or a certain result. Now all you have to do is like just make that better, right? Whatever you did, just 10x it, make it even better. So yeah, that was kind of my journey from 0 to 10K a month. The first thing I would do if I was just starting out is figure out appointments, right? Don't bother with your website. You can make a website, just don't spend a lot of time on it. I would do the outreach stuff, try to figure that out. If I need to hire someone, I'll save up money to hire someone to help me to speed up my journey, right? Or I'll just try to do it myself. But the most important thing is doing it, right? So just do it. Watch a YouTube video by all means, but then actually do it, right? Actually close that video and then just do it, right? And then after that, like your first goal is to just get that result, get that first appointment. And once you get that first appointment, ask yourself, What did I do to make this work? What did I say to make this work? What was my offer? How did I build up my lead list? Right? Find a formula. And then once you find that formula, try replicate that success and try scale up that success. With sales calls, you can read books. I'd suggest books is the best way. You can watch YouTube videos, but most sales YouTube videos are just taken from sales books. Good book that I recommend is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Probably one of the best sales books I've ever read about negotiation. But yeah, read books and then implement what you learn in the books into your sales. You can use the script at the start to kind of get comfortable. But I'd say over time, try to understand the framework of the sales calls, not the script. Framework is like essentially what you want to cover whilst you're on a call with them, right? And then after that, just have a normal conversation, human-to-human conversation. People don't like to get sold to. People like to be listened to. You got to listen and you got to provide solutions to what they told you, right? Not provide solutions to what you think they need, but what they actually need. And then again, you only get experience with sales if you actually take sales calls, right? You can do all the trainings you want in the world. You can read all the books you want in the world. You're not going to get better until you actually take sales calls. So don't be scared of doing that. Take sales calls, fail your first 10, your first 20, right? But once you close that first deal, then again, you find something that works. And then you keep doing that. Yeah. Service delivery, once you get your first client, your first couple clients, do everything you can to get your clients' results. Your clients' experience is the best. Like when I first started, I'll literally communicate every single day to my clients. Every single day, I would talk to them about things. I would show them things. I would build up reports, right? I would learn how to build up reports and I would send them reports. I would send them weekly Loom videos, going over their campaigns, going over our strategy moving forward, going over the things we found, right? I would over-communicate as much as possible. If they ever wanted to do like a last-minute call, I would jump on the call, right? Because I wanted to provide the best experience, the best results. So try to do everything you can to provide your clients with the best results and the best experience working with you, because that will go a long way in the future. And try to figure everything out yourself. You can hire a media buyer to work with, but you don't want to hire a media buyer to outsource to. Two different things, right? Work with your media buyer, sit down, two brains, figure it out, right? And then once you figure it out, trust me, you're going to be way more comfortable, right? In sales, you're going to be way more comfortable closing more deals. In appointment setting, you're going to be way more comfortable in booking appointments, right? Because you prove to yourself that something works in your fulfillment as well, right? And then over time, literally just try to be better, right? Just try and make things better that you did that already worked, and then do more of those things. And that's how you can get from 0 to 10K a month, even 15K a month. So yeah, I hope you guys found this conversation useful. I hope it brought you some insights, gave you a bit of an outlook of like what I did, how I used to think when I first started, when I was making $0 through online business. And yeah, if you want to share your experiences, I love reading them. So make sure to comment down below. And if you want to actually get, access to me, I do have a free community. I'm going to pin a comment with the link to join down below. I'll also give you my free training of how I went about scaling from 0 to 10K a month with my agency. So you will get free access to that as well once you join in. But yeah, apart from that, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like. If you found any value of whatever I said today, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.